Hello, good morning, good evening, whatever's in between. This is Canonus, and I'm back on a Thoughts On video. This time, it's Thoughts on Subnautica 2, or at least its early access, that was currently released not that long ago. So I've been playing this game. I'm not very far through it. I've done my first episode on the channel. I am going to record my second episode very soon, and as you can probably see by this video's footage, I have played the multiplayer a little bit here and there. So, first things first, Blaze has some minor notes to add on. He likes it. It's like Subnautica. Of course it is. It's Subnautica. He doesn't like Noah or the PDA voice for the bases themselves, but he's happy that the actual PDA voices generally, he does not like the holographic look for the entrances to the hatches and things like that on the bases and whatnot. But he's more than happy he gets his habitat builder back, because that's like his favourite part of the game. That's the primary stuff that he plays through, so he's happy with that. And he likes the multiplayer. He thinks it's fun to have multiple people around. Which it is. It makes things goofy. Anyway, aside from that, back to my thoughts personally. I like it a lot. I have played through the entirety of the first game, and I have played through, I think it's most of, is it below Sub-Zero? Is that what it's called? The ice one. I've played most of it. I'm not fully finished it yet, but I understand, you know, the general thing going on with it. So as someone who's played both, I really like 2. It's great. It has everything Subnautica related. Of course, this is only the early access at the moment, it's not the full game. But even just as an early access, I think it does really well. It's a new environment, but not too new to the point where you're like overwhelmed by it. But also it's got enough new stuff to be like, oh, here's this new thing, and here's this new thing. Which is great. I like the intro. The intro's fun. It's a bit more interesting than the previous 2 intros, in my opinion. Of course, the first one is the first one. The one everyone likes. But the intro for this second one is perfectly fine as well. Of course, there are some new things going on. Like with your character, you can customize them a little bit. Of course, there'll be more customization options in the future. But for what you have, you know, it's nice to have a little bit of option here and there. And you have to try and get adaptations, like biological adaptations, so you can interact with the planet without being harmed in any kind of way. Which I find very interesting, because in the first game you were trying to get rid of a disease. In Sub-Zero, is that Sub-Zero? Is that what it's called? I think it is. In Sub-Zero, you were just trying to figure out what happened with the planet altogether, and Alan's a whole mess. You're trying to help him too. But in this one, you have to find those adaptations, and you have to give them to yourself to try and help with survival and exploration and all of that sort of thing, which is very interesting. Not what I was expecting, but I actually like it. I find it gives you something like a little bit extra to focus on, especially with the early access at the moment. It gives just this extra little bit that's like, okay, I can go do this, I can go get this thing, it'll help me do XYZ, and then I can move on from that to this other thing. Such as the one I need to find right now is the one that allows me to eat food properly in my Let's Play one. So I need to go get that. So yeah, it helps out a lot with adding something a little bit new to it, while also just being Subnautica at the same time. Of course, you've got, you know, you start out with nothing, and you have your average tools that you can get, and you've got the multi-tool, you've got the scanner, you've got the fins and an O2 tank that you can get as your basic stuff, and then it upgrades as you go on, and you find more stuff, you find more creatures, and materials and all of that sort of thing. The same way, you know, it plays as Subnautica, which is a good thing. I'm glad it does. With the actual exploration stuff, I haven't got much yet. I've got fins, and I'm about to get the O2 tank. But I know, of course, there's the vehicles and things like that, which can help. But I'm glad the exploration stuff was kept. It still has the same feeling as general, like, first Subnautica game. Like, it's still like, oh, here's this vast, wide ocean with maybe some physical above water structures here and there. But most of it is in the ocean. A lot of it's down in the depths where you either can't see or there's just nothing to look at apart from water. Now, I'm one of those people who I do not have the fear of deep open water like most people do, or most people seem to do whenever they play this game, where they get all scared of not being able to see what's in front of them and whatnot. I'm not one of those people. Okay, it doesn't bother me like at all. So, like, I'm just not affected by it. I don't know, it doesn't scare me. Maybe I'm weird in that regard. Who knows? But because of that, the general feeling that you get from Subnautica, right? Which is like this unknown territory type thing. I don't really know how to elaborate on it much because it's not really as much of a thing for me as it probably is for a lot of other people. So I'm sure for anyone who does get that sort of thing, I'm sure it has the same sort of feeling. For me, it's Subnautica. I get to go explore the ocean again and whatever else is around, whilst finding out what happened. You know? So, yeah, I can't really say much on that side of things. If somebody else can, you know, by all means, go ahead and elaborate, because I clearly don't know. But yeah, it's good regardless. The graphics, the designs, things, very nice to look at. As it always is, you know, it's an underwater exploration game. Of course it's gonna look nice. I hope it looks nice. I do need to try and fix that sort of setting type stuff on my end though, I think. Simply just to eliminate some of the lag and keep it running at a stable rate and things like that. But of course, you know, it's early access. They're not gonna have everything right figured out, you know, at the very beginning. But for the most part, it's been pretty stable. At least for the time being. I haven't gotten anywhere too performance based yet, so I can't really say much on that side of things. But it's been good. Of course, like I said, multiplayer stuff, it's fun. It adds a little bit extra to it again. It gives you a little bit more, or it makes you think a little more about like base building and how you want to design things and how you want to like delegate resources and stuff like that, and who goes out to pick up what, who's the base builder, who goes exploring, who goes to scan things, who, you know, wants to go down to the depths and look at all the new stuff. It makes you think a little more about that kind of stuff, the small micromanaging part of it. Of course, everyone can do that if they want, you know, there's options for that and things like that, but it works either way. It works for whichever kind of playstyle you have for it. And that's good, like, that's what it should do. And I'm glad it does that. And it's fun to play, and at the time I'm recording this, it hasn't, like, glitched out or anything. At least not that I can tell. I might have had a small glitch with the inventory stuff and the items, but that was more of like a minor visual one as opposed to anything major game breaking. So it works well. I'm very glad that you can phase through the other person instead of them being actual physical force, because like if you could bump into other players that would make getting into bases and the life pod and all that sort of stuff, that would make that a nightmare. So I'm glad that they didn't do that. I'm glad you can just like, you know, walk through each other, because that makes life so much easier. So I'm glad, of course, you can share resources, you can pick up resources for yourself, put them in inventory slots to give them to other people. You can make items and give them to other people. You know, it's all, you can work together, or you can do things a little bit more separately, and it still works out. Same sort of thing as before that I was saying. The playstyle you have, you know, it can work in Subnautica 2 with whichever way you sort of want it to. And it does really well at it, and I'm glad it does, and it's good, and it's fun, and you can do some, there are some interesting animations, of course, and ones that are missing. Like the one for climbing up the lifeboat ones are missing, we noticed when we were playing multiplayer. And so, like, you know, of course, that stuff will be fixed later on when the full game, you know, gets closer to releasing properly and things like that. But for what it is, like, for the early access that it is at the moment, it's a really nice early access. Like, it has stuff to do. You can go on with multiple people. It all, like, works for the way it needs to work currently. And it just works, you know? It's exactly what it is, essentially. It's like playing another Subnautica game if you're single player, and if you're multiplayer, it's like playing another Subnautica game with a friend. So, yeah, it's really nice to play, and I've been having fun with it. Of course, I will be keeping on with my little Let's Play thing at the moment. I don't know how far that'll take me or anything like that. I don't know where the early access stuff sort of ends, but I'll find out. And you guys can join me for the journey. But anyway, like I was saying, really good early access. Having a great time with it. I'm excited for the full game. Later on, whenever it decides to release or come out or whatever it is. Which, you know, could be in a few years' time, but hey, that's okay. But it's really good for now. It's a great start for what it is. And yeah, I think that'll be it for this episode. Or this video. That was my thoughts on Subnautica 2. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. That's it for now. Cheers, everybody.